12 o'clock on your Wednesday afternoon now. Welcome in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Captain Dave, as it has been for about the past week and a half now. They tell me Terry is here. Terry told me he would be here. I've talked to him on the phone. Actually, we have confirmation. I can see Terry Ford now, though he still is late as always. But after what seems like a month, Terry Ford has finally made his triumphant return. You get to see the new mic arms now, by the way. So much has changed in here since you left.
You leave for a week, or a little bit over a week. You leave for a little bit over a week, and all hell breaks loose. What are we doing here? Are you responsible for all this?
Not really.
Who signed off? Who is the PD of this place, Adair? Who signed off on this stuff? You sign off, Dave?
Well, see, Dave is technically the PD in charge when you're not here, so we can blame him.
I am? That's news.
You're second in command. You're the assistant to the regional PD.
Remember that big raise you got?
Yeah, the dollar that's sitting in here.
Yeah, you're the... Tell you what, let's give our boy Randy in engineering some props.
Oh, man. Listen, if you've ever visited our studio before, it looks vastly different, inside and outside.
This man has done work.
We have a whole TV studio outside our door now.
Yeah, Elijah did, he does a thing called What Bugs Me, sponsored by Modern Exterminating.
Yep.
And it's a video-only segment on our YouTube channel.
Right.
And to test our new video stream podcast studio, they did that segment
last week.
The last one. Have you seen it yet?
I have. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Looks great. I was watching them do it the other day.
Oh, were you here?
Yeah.
You know what's scary? This actually looks like we know what the heck we're doing.
I know it's professional. It's got we got our monitor up there with their logo on it. You got the view of the street behind you. Yeah, it looks way more professional than we're supposed to be.
Obviously, somebody came in who knew what they were doing because we have. It's not like we got smart.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of schmucks.
It's a radio.
He's putting us on the right path. That's for sure.
So I got to figure what I do because I don't want to sit down.
Of course not. No. I think you can raise it up.
I think I'm going to be okay. I think he told me that I can loosen the arm and raise it up. But yeah, so props to our bud Randy. I mean, we almost look like we're like professionals on video.
Somewhat, and you can see our faces nice and clear now. Yours is really big on the screen.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't need my face really clear.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to you, Tyler. I really don't need that.
I think people are now remembering, oh, that's what he looks like.
That's why he's in radio.
That's why he's in radio.
That's the wonderful thing about these video streams we do now.
Sure.
Because a lot of us got into radio because we didn't want to do TV.
Right.
Well, we shouldn't do TV. And now look at us.
Absolutely. Glad you made it back in one piece, though.
God.
What an adventure yesterday or 2 days ago, huh?
Man. But you know what? It was a thermostat on the car, and it was $10
times 1,000.
God, $1,100 later.
$1,100.
Yep. I'm almost ready to throw up now thinking about it again.
Sure.
$1,100. Yeah, but you know, and you and I were talking about, and of course you always glass half full guy. Well, Tara, could have been worse. Could have been that heating coil they were talking about, which was like $2,000. So, yeah, that was fun times.
Yeah, when your car starts smoking, it's usually never a good sign.
Again, they built the check engine light for dopes like me.
Sure, it's like there's something wrong here.
Right, my car's sending smoke signals. Something's going on here. So, yeah, the little dummy light came on, the check engine light. All of a sudden I looked over and the temperature gauge it's not good when it's all the way in the H, I've heard.
Yeah, that's usually want to be kind of in the middle there a little bit.
So that was cool. And so what I did, I'll give one more prop. So I turned myself around. So I was only like a half hour, 40 minutes from Baltimore.
Yeah.
So I turned myself back around to head back toward my house in Baltimore.
Sure.
And there's a gas station I pull over, because I can check the oil. I know how to do things like that.
Pull out the dipstick.
And so I'm like, okay, oil's fine. Let me check the coolant. And I'm looking around for the coolant. And there was a state trooper getting gas, right, this gas station. So whenever I see the police, I automatically hide.
Sure.
So it's like a reflex for my family.
Well, as long as they don't run your name and check for your warrants, you're okay.
Because I was there. Please, God, don't ask me about my name. Don't ask me my name. So, sir, you have 43 unpaid tickets. But he's a cool guy. He comes up. He goes, "Yeah, what's going on?" I'm telling him. I'm going, "Yeah, I got to check the coolant." He goes, "You know where it's at?" I said, "I was hoping you did." So he's got the flashlight. We find where the coolant is and blah, blah, blah. And he was great. And so just the last thing, so the coolant's only halfway full.
Okay.
So then I went to my mechanic that night, which was Google AI.
Yes.
And Google AI told me that could be a problem in certain cars if you only have the coolant midway.
Yeah.
So I decided, okay, I'll go into the because every gas station now is a convenience store hooked to it, right?
Sure.
So I go in there and I find antifreeze. I'm like, good. Then I looked and there was no price on it.
Okay.
No, that's never a good thing
not.
in a convenience store.
It doesn't mean it's free.
So I tried that, and then of course there's a state trooper outside. So I walk up, and I'm like, yeah, man, I want to get this. He clicks it. It's like, oh, that'll be $135. No, it was $12 for antifreeze.
Wow, like a full thing?
Oh, it was a full thing, but
Okay.
it was like $12 for antifreeze.
All
And I'm
right.
just like, seriously? And so I fill it up, hoping it was going to work. That didn't work. So I'm driving home. State trooper was such a cool guy. He followed me for as long as he could to make sure I was going to, get back without the car exploding.
He was wondering if he's going to have to save your life at some
That's
point.
what it was. It was like, man, I don't feel like cleaning up body parts off the beltway. I really don't. So I'm gonna go with you because you don't seem to be very smart.
Especially for those that work the night shift. It's like, come on.
Yeah,
I want this to be easy. Don't want to have any problems. Please don't let your car explode in front of
all
me.
I want to do, man, is I just want to sit in my car and just chill and drink my coffee. Leave me alone. So yeah, long story short, $1,100 later,
Well, you're here.
we made it back.
You made it.
Made it back. Oh yeah.
You missed a lot in the past week.
It's been crazy. You and I did an hour yesterday since I was, stuck with no car. And we didn't get a chance to get to some things. I mean, the transfer portal for baseball and softball has been cooking.
Yep.
And, we won't get into specific names right now. We'll get to that on the show. But, I will say this, that, we were a little concerned about the portal, and we still got a long way to go. We were concerned about recruiting after reading John Whittle's piece about some of the issues. And we were sitting around going, well, if this kind of stuff gets out from players and all players talk,
Sure.
how are you going to be able to recruit? And look, we don't know. None of these guys have played an inning for
No.
South Carolina.
No.
But there's some interesting dudes coming through this portal. And the things we heard about, and, Coach Maneri said this, near the end of the year, we need guys who can hit home runs and guys who throw the baseball really hard from the mound. And so far, they've added a couple guys who hit some home runs, and they got some guys who throw the ball really hard on the mound.
Again, when you go back to what Maneri told us through his pressers and what allegedly he told his team, hey, talent's not good enough. I'm going to go out there and get some guys in the portal. He's doing that. All right, now that you've got or are building the roster that you want, go out there and win.
You still got a ways to go. You got to get some more outfielders. Your middle infielders are gone. You've really concentrated on pitching, which is a good thing. But you still got a lot of work to do in the portal. There's a couple of JUCO guys that are kind of interesting if you read about their backgrounds, especially offensively. But again, they all got to come together, and you got to go on the field in 2026, and you got to win.
Yep.
And you got to win a hell of a lot more than you did this past year.
And again, you have to win your fan base back over too.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and I've talked to people who love Gamecock baseball, and they're seeing these people coming through the portal, and they're coming from a bunch of different places. And here's what I've heard. Okay, that's great. Now show me you can win.
Yeah, sure.
And think about us saying that.
Yeah.
About a Hall of Fame baseball coach.
Yeah, and it's not just win, it's win in the SEC. Again, they were undefeated through all of the non-conference stuff leading up to that first series against, Oklahoma? And then that's where things started to kind of teeter in the other direction. So really until March of next year, the people are going to be like, okay, all right, well, I'm still waiting.
You know what's going to be? Okay, that's great. Beat Clemson.
Yeah,
that's where it's all going to start
that's the
next
thing,
year.
too. Beat Clemson. That was the one non-conference series they didn't win. So that's going to set the tone. If you're out there getting swept again, it's like, all right, Paul, you're on thin ice, buddy.
And that was the thing. I mean, you lost midweek to North Carolina, and you lost the series to Clemson. Besides that, you smoked everybody else in the midweek.
Every other mid-major you took care of, which, hey, that's what you're supposed to do. That's great. Again, and could you do that next year? Absolutely. But until you start winning these big series, until you show the ability to be able to compete in what is now the toughest it's ever been in the SEC, nobody's going to believe. And I don't know how they do the introductions at Founders Park. I haven't been over there, for a game in the Maneri era, but I imagine they go through the lineup and say, and now your head coach, Paul Maneri. Going to be a lot of boos until things start turning around.
This is so ironic in that we are talking this way about a proven championship level head coach because that's how bad this thing was last year.
Yeah. And go back. Today's one exact year since Ashley Chastain Woodard was hired. Now I want to say it was right around this exact same time that Maneri was hired too. Roughly a week or two after the regional elimination of Mark Kingston's team and him getting fired the next day. And again, the expectation and hypes were high. Here's a guy coming in with the pedigree, guy coming in saying, "Hey, we're not coming in here to lose. We're coming here to win. It's not going to be a long-term thing. We're coming here to immediately hit the ground running." And it all sounds great. And the game started getting played, and it's like, oh. Well, this ain't going too well.
This is not what we signed up for. There were people saying, "Well, we miss Mark Kingston."
Yeah,
think about that for a minute.
For where and again, I've been here covering this program for 3 years. Since I got here, people have been down on Mark Kingston, saying, "Well, he's not good enough to get him to Omaha," and blah blah blah. They wanted him to get fired 3 years ago, and again, he obviously got the boot, last year, and people are like, "Oh, it's 2-3 years too late." So to have those same people saying, "Man, we should have never fired Kingston," that's saying something. That's how bad your season went.
Think about that for a sec.
Yeah.
All right, we'll dig more into that and maybe focus on some of the players coming through the portal. And like we said, softball, Coach Woodard is pulling some players through the portal as well. So we'll be getting into that today. Do not forget that we'll be at Angry Fish. Well, Elijah Campbell will be at Angry Fish. Jay Phillips will be here in the studio. We'll be doing 3 to 6 from Angry Fish. Celebrating, they got a big anniversary because they drink what they can and sell the rest, which
That's
is
right.
my
I love
favorite
that
slogan. One of my that slogan and Schroeder's Towing are my 2 favorite slogans.
They say the best commercials get your attention.
Exactly.
Those 2 get our attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So Angry Fish 3 to 6. Elijah will be there helping them celebrate. And the reason Jay is here, because you ever heard this guy with Donati?
I think it's pretty important.
Yeah, Jeremiah Donati, we will be on with the post-game show Thursday from 4 to 4:30.
By the way, how hard was it to convince Elijah to go hang out at a brewery?
He told me no a lot at first.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do it, wasn't comfortable, and I talked him into it.
Just like, around beer, I can't do it.
Yeah, Elijah and beer.
Just don't mix.
Watching him shotgun brew at SEC Media Days last year was hilarious. I'll tell you, it's a dark day for Dave Adair.
Uh-oh.
I found this out. As I was gone, something happened.
Hold on, you just panicked him, by the way.
I know. He thought he got fired.
Well, actually, real quick, apparently you have not been communicating with him much in the past 24 hours because yesterday I had to tell him you weren't going to be here, and today I told him you were going to be here. I'm like, well, Terry doesn't tell you anything, does he?
No, you're right. Dave, I was very poor in my communication with you the last 2 days. So
By the way, I noticed on the intro today, my name is no longer there.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Well, don't get too comfortable in that seat, Dave.
Did he catch it? No, Dave, and Dave always thinks he's getting fired. No, Dave, you're not getting fired. You're safe. But, the love of Dave's life is off the market.
Uh-oh.
Married Josh Allen.
That's right. Yeah, Haley Steinfeld.
You okay?
It's going to be, I'll have to see a counselor for depression.
So, all right. So Haley Steinfeld's married. I want to say Sydney Sweeney's engaged. Does Sabrina Carpenter have a boyfriend right now? You in on that at all?
No, and Rebecca of Larkin Poe is having a baby.
Dang it.
Tyler.
See,
the list just keeps going.
The Larkin and the Poe are all married.
Yeah. Selena Gomez is engaged.
Selena Gomez.
Taylor Swift seems happy with Travis Kelce.
Dave needs a minute. Look at him. He's getting a little emotional. I have never seen Dave this emotional.
No. Sorry, Dave.
So when I was gone, I saw Josh Allen married old Haley. I went, oh no. Adair. Take away his shoestrings, his belt, any sharp objects, even like paper, because, paper's sharp.
We feel for you, Dave. We're
here for you, Dave.
It's okay. There was a cute girl on the bus this morning that I hassled for all the way.
You hassled? That's good, Dave. You get arrested
I said hello
for that
to
stuff.
her.
Dave, we call that rizzing up now. Did you rizz her up, Dave?
Yeah, I'm like,
Dave,
hey, I'll ride every day if you want to know any facts.
Dave, she calls that harassment. Just say it.
She got off really quick.
Just say it.
Because she was so excited. She had to go home and fix herself up to meet you tomorrow.
All right, so we got a good break. We're in camp season for Gamecock football. Interesting name or two popping up at this camp. South Carolina getting ahead of the game in future recruiting classes. So we'll yip some Gamecock football next here on the Halftime Show with Tyler Head, the very depressed David Adair, Terry Ford, till 3 on the game. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare. We are rolling the sucker up until 3 here on the game. All right, we talked about Thursday at Angry Fish, post-game show 3 to 6, celebrating, I think that's their 14th, 15th anniversary. Friday, I know at least Gunner, I think possibly also Preston. Liberty on the Lake, we do it every year for the Big Red Barn, so Bill will be out there, at least maybe Preston. But that is 6 to 9 on Fridays. We're out hanging around Thursday and Friday with the Schroeder's Towing Road shows here on the game. All right, one thing about when you have these camps during the week, and of course Wes and Chris have been at these various camps for the last couple of weeks for South Carolina football, you start hearing about these names of players that, you know, if the pledge turns into an actual signing the letter of intent and they play at South Carolina, you get like a little early peek into what the future could be. I remember, like, you know, we're talking about our guy Fred.
Yep.
At linebacker, he first started popping at these camps a few years ago.
Well, he was a relatively unknown guy. I think the camp going into maybe his junior year of high school, if I'm thinking correctly, where it wasn't really on the radar for anybody. He was just, you know, an average, just run-of-the-mill linebacker out of the Virginia Beach area, I think, and popped at South Carolina's camp, and boom, they offered him on the spot. And as time went on, got more offers from schools around the area, but South Carolina was the first one to jump on that, kind of found a diamond in the rough, and now, again, he's projected to be one of the starting linebackers this upcoming season. Again, all goes back to that time at the camp. So you truly never know what you're going to find in terms of guys that are on your radar going in or guys you have no idea about going in.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of these camps. And you just, you know, when we bring up, you know, our buddy Fred for the example of this is when they go to these camps, all of a sudden you see them close up and go, oh, my God, nobody knows about him.
Yeah.
Let's jump on this bandwagon quick and let's offer him and, you know, see where it goes. And you end up, in this case, getting him, and you could have a starting linebacker. And it seems like he'll be one of your starting linebackers next year.
Sure.
Another kid that's interesting is KJ Johnson, who has verbaled. And again, Johnson, got 2 more years of high school? I believe he's going to senior year.
I think he's the 26th class. That'll be
so he's going to his senior year. All the time, has freakish athleticism, nice height at 6'2".
What we like to call the Torian Gray special.
Yes.
Where he's one of those long, lanky type of corners that they don't grow on trees, but South Carolina always seems to find their way to get some of these guys on campus and get them committed.
Yep, and they talk about, like, you know, ridiculous hops. You know, he's a freakish athlete. And again, with Torian Gray, you know, it's not like we never talk about Gray, but sometimes I feel like we don't talk enough about what Torian Gray's done.
Yeah, and look, you know, they're consistently putting guys in the league, getting more guys drafted this past year. And, I don't know, it's kind of flown under the radar a little bit, what that secondary's been able to do, and obviously the success they've had. And again, it looks like they're putting together another strong recruiting class and hopefully a strong season on the field in 2025.
And now and obviously in the last week you've added the Harris twins, which is not a bad thing at all.
No.
Very interesting combo there.
Yeah, some depth there up front on the which I think. The one that's a line or edge is, I think, it's going to be more kind of a linebacker type from what I've been reading. Which, again, you can kind of interchange edge and linebacker depending on how you want to use them there. The other one, a defensive lineman. So some help up front there, and then KJ Johnson on the back end. And, again, you know, Yuval was on with me the other day, and, you know, he was going back and saying, the majority of Beamer commitments typically tend to come around this June type of, you know, time frame when they're coming on campus and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, there's pros and cons to getting the early guys and getting the guys late in the summer. But, again, a pretty good surge of guys, you know, coming on campus and getting a couple commitments to start off the summer like they've done so far.
You know, and with Aiden Harris, he's of the two Harrises, he's the more highly touted. He's looked at one top 50 prospect in the country, like 13 and a half sacks. Now, here's my thing on this. This is not to, you know, disparage the brother at all, but a lot of times when twins want to play together, you'll take the less heralded brother to get the more heralded brother.
Yeah, if you think it's a package.
No problem.
Yeah.
You had zero problem with that because that's what you do. And there have been times, and I've seen this in basketball and football, where the less heralded brother becomes better than that more heralded brother before it's all said and done.
I think you kind of look at it and like, okay, you know, option A maybe is the better of the two. these guys obviously have the same genes, so maybe option B, while not there as of right now, can come along in time and can get developed to the point where maybe he becomes the star or something along those lines. So, yeah, if you have an option to bring in both as a package deal, you do that. And obviously, you look at one as maybe being the more successful of the two, but maybe the other one will surprise you. You never know.
And the recruiting always seems there's some interesting things that happen this time of year is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
South Carolina.
Again, it's one of those things we try not to get too overhyped about guys that are just obviously committing and still haven't signed as of yet. And even when guys do officially sign coming up in the early signing day coming up in December, we try and level our expectations because you just never know until these guys get on the field. And there's highly touted guys that never see the field, never get action. We're wondering whatever happened to those guys years down the line. But, if you're consistently, and again, the three-star mafia always likes to come out when we talk about commitments. They've been a little bit quieter this year because you have a good majority of four-star guys that are committed for the 2026 class as of right now.
And that's the thing, too. And we always say they verbaled. We don't go into they're going to be playing here for sure. You never know. For now,
you have their word.
That's what you get.
That could change tomorrow, but for now.
South Carolina's done a pretty good job of holding on. Look, every school gets flippage, right? You're never going to get away from it.
Yeah.
But it seems like Shane and the staff really sit on these guys pretty well after they get a commitment, and verbal.
Done pretty good at flipping guys to South Carolina as well. So
we shall see. But there's a couple of interesting little nuggets of content and information coming out here as these camps go along.
Again, we're in a period of time where the information about the 2025 team is pretty much slowed to a crawl at this point. So nothing wrong with projecting ahead a little bit as well.
All right, just in case you just woke up, we always get you caught up on stuff that's going on in the world of sports. Something very interesting happened yesterday. You know me, I love soccer.
Yeah.
If I need a nap, I'll start watching a soccer game. Just not my bag. It just isn't. I've just never been a soccer guy. I'm the opposite of Jay Phillips.
Yes, he's a very big soccer guy.
Yes, he loves his soccer. But something historic happened. I believe it was yesterday in the world of soccer.
Yep.
Just in case you missed it. And guess what? The Knicks just got turned down again regarding getting permission to talk to a head coach. They're now 0 for 3.
Careful what you wish for when you fire a coach.
That's coming up. Just in case you just woke up here on the halftime show, Tyler had David Ayer, Terry Ford till 3 on the game. Halftime show. Just in case you just woke up, get you caught up on a couple things that happen in the world of sports. Again, I'm not a soccer guy. Don't pretend to be.
Shocker.
But so I know. And all my kids played soccer just to torture me. Something historic happened over the weekend. Hit it, Dave.
From Walker, sending it in, sending it Jackson's way. He's done well. Ismail Assar's there. And Senegal have the equaliser that their play deserves in this first half.
I can hear it.
I can.
Are you plugged in? Oh, I can hear it.
And the pocket of Senegalese fans smiling in the late evening sunshine in
My
Nottingham.
earbuds suck. All right, I'm going to have to go back to headphones.
Okay. What's playing?
All right, you can dump it, Dave. Senegal did something that they have never done in their history, and it's never happened to England before.
All right.
Senegal beat England 3-1.
Wow.
I believe it was 3-1. Let me turn my thing. Yeah, it was 3-1. England does not lose those games. And Senegal typically doesn't win those games. Senegal's been playing really well, from what I understand.
Now, is Senegal one of those tiny neighborhood type of teams?
No, they've been really good. I think they had a 20-some game win streak or something going into this. So they've been playing really well. And England has never lost a game like this. And there's panic through England.
Okay.
It's like, oh, God, we're England. We don't lose to Senegal. Oh, bloody bonkers.
Yep.
I mean, they're not happy.
Yeah, and this is, was this a friendly? Yeah, it was a friendly.
It's a friendly.
Because they're setting the stage for the World Cup qualifiers coming up later on this year. America lost their friendly, last night to Switzerland. But
that was crazy.
That was not pretty. No. Yes, the Jay Phillips of the world were not pleased by any means.
The
Landon
by that. Donovans of the world are not pleased. Senegal shocked. We always say the shocked the world's dumb, but Senegal shocked the soccer world
on that stage, quite literally shocking the world.
Yes, which is crazy. And of course, America was that 4-0 loss, wasn't it?
Yes, 4-0.
4-0 in soccer is like a boat race in like football, baseball, basketball.
That's getting outscored by 6-7 touchdowns, essentially.
You're getting whooped if you get beat 4-0 in soccer. So United States, things did not go well, but things went well for Senegal. Historic victory.
Yeah, good for them.
Historic.
Huge.
Over England. That's one of the things. Maybe you missed it, just in case you just woke up. So another thing has been going on. The New York Knicks need a basketball coach.
Yes, they do.
Because they decided that they couldn't win an NBA championship with Tom Thibodeau.
Despite the fact they just had the most successful season in 25 years.
And in the last 3 years, Thibodeau has at least won a playoff series.
Yes.
Which the Knicks have not done forever.
Including beating the defending champs.
When the New York fans, despite the fact that the Knicks beat the Celtics in the conference semifinals, Knicks fans stormed New York City and started climbing light poles. I thought they were going to have a parade.
Yeah. Now, this is one of those things that, and we talked about this last week when you were out, when the firing gets made, it's like, okay, well, you better have a really good plan on who you're going to bring in that's going to be better that could potentially get this team to the NBA Finals. Doesn't seem like they really had a plan, though.
Here's the plan. Let's get turned down by every team that we seek permission to talk to their head coach.
Not a great plan.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, look, if you want to say Tom Thibodeau has never taken a team to the NBA Finals, Tom Thibodeau has certain limitations as a coach that prevents him from getting to the NBA Finals, despite the fact he is a good coach in theory. I mean, he's won everywhere he's been. But, okay, fine. I'll get you because Tibbs runs his players into the ground. He's not great, resting guys and kind of, working the system.
He uses his main starters more than anybody else, which was a criticism throughout the playoffs.
It's been a criticism for his entire career. So I get if you go like this. We think this is as far as Tom Thibodeau can take us.
Yeah.
Okay. To your point, you better have a heck of a plan B ready to roll because obviously you're looking for the guy to take you over the top, right?
And typically when you have that plan, those hires are usually made pretty quickly. Like, okay, moved on from guy A, guy B is waiting in the wings, ready to go. And that hasn't happened.
Well, this has the smell that James Dolan is now getting involved again in the Knicks, the owner, who's one of the worst owners in professional sports. The guy, I'm going to try to be nice. The guy's a boob.
Okay. Fair.
He's an awful, awful owner. This has the smell and stink of James Dolan's fingerprints all over it, firing Thibodeau. Reactionary, no plan. Because here's what we're seeing. The Knicks are asking permission to talk to coaches.
Yep.
And they're getting turned down by teams. Now, if this was your plan, that we're going to go ask permission to teams to talk to their head coach, do you think it's a really good plan, Tyler?
Not really.
Because you know what I can always do? Tell you no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, unless they were just so convinced that there would be no way these coaches would get denied the opportunity to talk to them, like, well, of course we're going to get to talk to Jason Kidd and some of these other coaches, but it's not happening.
No, they've asked 3 different teams for permission to talk to their head coaches, and 3 times they've been turned down. Chris Finch in Memphis. It's Adoko in Houston, who coached the Celtics to the finals a few years ago.
Yep.
Also now Jason Kidd. And there were people thinking Jason Kidd was going to be the guy. Jason Kidd, he coached Jalen Brunson when Brunson was in Dallas. You know, Kidd has gotten to the finals. They figured, okay, we'll get Jason. We're the Knicks. We'll get Jason Kidd because the Mavericks will just get out of our way, right?
Sure.
But here's the funniest part about Kidd. Real quick sidebar. Okay, if you're Jason Kidd, you want to go deal with a crazy owner with the Knicks, a media and fan base who is delusional about what you are as a franchise. And you're being brought in, by the way, to go win the NBA championship.
Yeah, that's the thing, is your expectation level is set so insanely high, that's almost impossible to live up to. Because the any season where you don't make it that far, it's like, well, at least Tom Thibodeau got him to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, that's an insanely high bar to set for somebody to come in right away and accomplish.
But then you're sitting in Dallas, so you're fine, right? Well, no, the owner that hired you is gone. The GM who made one of the most horrific trades in the history of the NBA and probably made it because the new owners told him to, will probably be gone. So that's not a great situation either.
It's not.
And, 2 of your best players can't stay healthy to save their lives.
Yeah.
So if you're Jason Kidd, you're like, okay, do I get a third choice? Can I have something else? But anyway, 3 coaches now have not been able to talk to the Knicks because their organizations have denied permission. So this circle back to the original premise, this smells like James Dolan.
You know what's going to happen? Whenever they inevitably hire whoever they hire, what are they going to say in that introductory presser? We got our guy.
God, this was our guy. We wanted all along.
Oh, you sure that wasn't like option 5?
Already, are you going to say this? Despite all of the media rumors to the contrary, this was our target all along.
This was our target that we were allowed to talk to.
Yeah, when I first read about this, it made it sound like that this was a decision made by the front office.
Yeah.
No, if the front office is making this decision, I'm really starting to scratch my head and question the Knicks front office because, again, it seems like you didn't really have a plan. You knew Thibodeau wasn't the guy.
Yes.
But you didn't know who the guy was, right?
Yeah, and
that's what it feels like.
I feel like, kind of reading up on this, it's like they almost kind of wish they could have just lost to the Celtics and said, oh, well, hey, you got bounced earlier in the playoffs and make this a whole lot easier. Again, it looks a lot worse when you're on the cusp of getting to the finals and then you fire your head coach because then it's like, what the heck are you doing? And again, you better have a plan of who's going to come in after him. And again, as we're seeing right now, that plan is not working out.
And if this was the plan, that what we're going to do is we're going to now reach out to teams and ask permission to talk to their head coaches.
Yes.
This is not their assistants because that's a no-brainer because the guy's going to get a promotion, right?
Of course.
But you want to talk to other teams' head coaches. And by the way, of those 3 coaches, those 3 organizations do not want to give up those 3 head coaches at all.
Of course not.
Would you?
No, absolutely not. Which,
not
again, they have the power to say, no, you cannot talk to them.
So if this was your game plan, this is a really bad game plan.
Yeah, it is.
And that's why I go back to this has the smell. Smell it? That's Dolan. It smells like a Dolan.
Sure.
Smells like the owner.
Sure.
It really does.
And now you're potentially going to be hiring somebody that maybe isn't quite the fit that you were looking for with, again, going in with the expectations of, hey, you better get this team to the finals in the next couple of years.
Well, Tyler, whoever they hire,
it's going to be their guy.
It's going to be their guy.
We got our guy. Despite the fact that we were turned down from talking to 10 different head coaches, we got our guy.
All those media reports are false. This is the guy we wanted all along. This guy. All right, that's just in case you just woke up here on the game. Up next, we'll check out our Firehouse Sub. Text the hour 803-404-6100. Don't forget, I mean, you can. This is it's kind of getting insane. We're almost becoming stalkers. You can listen to us if you get in your car radio.
Yep.
You can listen to us in Columbia, Florence, or Myrtle Beach. 100.5 the game in Florence, 100.3 the game in Myrtle Beach. You can watch us on our YouTube channel at the Game TV Radio on YouTube. Also, you can just download the app, put it on your phone, and you can use your phone as like a little transistor radio, and you can listen to us on your phone too. We're everywhere.
Yep.
Yes, we are. All right, we'll come back at our Firehouse Up Text the Hour. Again, 803-404-6100. Halftime show on the game. All right, time to get that Firehouse Sub text of the hour at 803-404-6100. What do you got there on the old text machine, Tyler?
Let's see. In terms of the Knicks and their coaching plan, Nameless Texter says, sometimes the best plan is no plan at all.
Is that text from Jay Dolan?
Unnamed, but that might be a New York area code.
Here's the funniest part about the whole coaching search thing, and this is in any sport. When a coach is hired, we say we like to hire, we hate to hire, we whatever. But to be honest, we don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
We got no clue.
We're going off of whatever they've done up to that point. If they were an assistant, if they were a prior head coach, okay, here's what they've done up to this point, and here's how that can translate over to whatever that new job is. But again, sometimes the best former head coaches end up being duds. Sometimes okay assistants end up being phenomenal coaches. You just truly don't know. I
mean, let's be real. And then we'll go with college football for a minute. We all thought Scott Frost was a home run hire in Nebraska.
It should have been.
Hire.
You couldn't have thought of a more perfect hire for Nebraska football than the prodigal son returning home after winning a national championship somewhere else.
And it just didn't work. It just, it didn't work. Sometimes fit matters. Sometimes, in college football to stay there. Sometimes you don't really belong in a certain region of the country or whatever.
Sure.
It just something. Fit is a thing.
Yeah.
And
totally.
I always use the example when Joe Torre got hired by the Yankees.
Yeah.
And Buck Showalter was the manager. Everybody thought Buck was an up and coming manager, a guy who could probably get you the World Series, win a World Series, whatever. Well, Buck Showalter never got to the World Series. He left New York. And the Yankees hired a retread like Joe Torre, who had been nothing special in Atlanta, St. Louis, with the Mets. How'd that go?
Went pretty well.
Yeah, it went pretty well. And that's my point. I mean, like, for an example, the Eagles hire Andy Reid. You're like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
What's a Bill Belichick?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's sitting around going, wow, that was a hire.
Guys that were assistants under really good head coaches that, again, hadn't really proven themselves on their own, go on to be two of the best coaches the NFL's ever seen.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that what we think we know, we don't know.
Sure.
And when you hire someone like the Knicks, to the texter's point, we can laugh how this goes, right? Mm-hmm. But if they get the right guy, what a genius move. Sure. I'll give you one. When Southern Cal hired Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Rumor was he was choice number 712. They were just going through the phone book and got to the C's.
A guy that hadn't had a ton of success in the NFL up to that point.
Right.
What's he going to do in college? Win a national championship? Technically two. They were only supposed to remember one.
I remember that one.
They wiped our memory with the little Men in Black thing.
Exactly.
Remember?
That pen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, nobody thought Pete Carroll was a home run hire. They were like this. Who?
And since then, they've been striving to get somebody on the same level as Pete Carroll.
Yeah. So and again, I'll go to it again. Lincoln Riley was a home run hire.
Should have been. Supposed to be.
So far, I mean, there's a lot of excuses coming out of Southern Cal.
Yeah.
But not a lot of results. And I was reading a deep dive about this the other day about Trojan football. And the blame was on they didn't have their NIL set up. Now their NIL's rocking and rolling.
That's what it is.
Now they can acquire players. Now they can recruit better.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure the University of Southern California didn't have money ready to go.
Well, the word was that NIL was far behind because they have no money.
No, not at all.
There are no rich alum at all.
There's no rich alums. There's no famous people that like Trojan football.
It's not like it's the favorite team of the city of Los Angeles.
No, not at all.
No. There's no money in Hollywood, right?
No, not at all. No, there definitely used to be a who's who of who came to Trojan practice on a given Tuesday.
But they said, from what I was reading in this, I think it was The Athletic, that according to Lincoln Riley, the Southern Cal NIL game was far behind everybody else, and now they're ramped up and ready to compete.
Or do they think they just couldn't spend? If they didn't spend money, they'd be okay?
Well, here's my thing, ready? If you were that far behind, what was wrong with you people?
Well, and the fact, okay, so you start off far behind, and you're catching up. How much farther behind are you still from these other schools that were ahead of you to begin with?
Right.
Catching up doesn't always mean catching up to everybody else.
And here's my thing, with Lincoln Riley. I know they offered you a boatload of money, and it was a real boat. I mean, they pulled a boat up at your house with just covered in money. It was made of money.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
they had to drag it through the waterless state of Oklahoma.
Plains.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. If I'm Lincoln Riley, and maybe Lincoln Riley did this and said, that's okay, we'll build it. aren't you checking the NIL situation at Southern Cal? Because you know what the deal is moving forward, right?
Maybe there was so many zeros on that check to him, he didn't think about it.
Hey, I'll fix the NIL. I'll start giving money to the NIL. Look how much money I have.
Yeah.
But all I know is this: Lincoln Riley better win this year.
Oh, without a doubt. Hot seat.
Yes, but my point is, we thought that was a slam dunk
Sure.
home run hire, and nobody knew who Pete Carroll was.
Nope.
So you never know. Good text. We appreciate it. 803-404-6100. A lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford, rolling up until 3 o'clock here on the halftime show in the game. I've gone to the headphones.
You bit the bullet.
Five Below failed me miserably with those earbuds, and I paid a good $6.
You went to the 5 and Beyond section?
Yes.
Or Beyond 5,
yeah,
whatever they call it?
Beyond 5. I thought, the $5 ones are good. I mean, the $7, $6 ones are going to be better than the $5 ones, right?
Sure.
I was wrong. So now, I used to be a headphone guy for years.
Yeah.
But I got away from the headphones. Now I'm back today.
Well, you feel them on the top of your head.
That's the problem. It bugs the top of my head. When I had hair, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Now it's annoying. It just bugs me.
It does look weird.
It looks weird. Thank you. I'm looking at the video stream right now. Look good. We're more of a goober than usual on the video stream. It's like if I walked in here all of a sudden with hair. You've never really seen me with a full head of hair. I'd freak you out.
Yeah. Be like, who's that?
It's funny.
Well, you showed me that picture of you in high school, and I was like, that's not you.
Well, I got to get a picture of me with my ponytail.
Yes.
Because I don't think anyone here has seen my ponytail pictures or when I had long hair.
Yeah.
There's one I have when I was doing Mornings in Music where we did a promotional picture, and I got the hair, and I got it looking like I'm in Bon Jovi, and I got these glasses and all this other stuff, these shades. I got to find that one because that one will show the Bon Jovi hair.
Oh.
And I got one up in my office now where I got my surfer hair.
Okay.
That my cousin gave me.
You have to show me that tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll show you. That's up in the office. It's when I got it's a marriage picture when I was a young Terry Ford.
Okay.
And I got married. Why, I don't know, but I did. But anyway.
I'm sure she's asking the same question.
Oh, she did. She did as we're cutting the cake. Are you crazy? That's a picture. She's cutting the cake going, why did I do this?
When someone was dragging her, kicking and screaming down the aisle to the altar, that probably was a bad sign. It's like, well, this isn't starting well. Did you say that you didn't look at her when you gave your vows?
I did the vows of the preacher. Yeah, I knew that was a bad sign right there. I married the preacher, basically, is what I did.
I hope you guys are happy together.
Yeah, well, you know what? I start thinking back. Maybe that would have been the better move. After I think back what happened there.
Yeah.
That 2 years. Anyway.
Live and learn.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. All right. We do a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Did you go through this future rankings thing from ESPN?
Not yet. Nope.
It's interesting. It's future rankings beyond 2026, correct? That's what I think what they call it. It's kind of projecting forward a bit, not just this year, but projecting forward. It's around the country, not just South Carolina, but all over the USA in the power conferences.
Yep.
So it goes through 2026. So it's not just this year. It's looking 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, out of the power schools, guess who's ranked 68th?
Bottom of the barrel. Is it Stanford?
Yes, sir. Ding, 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 ding. What does he win, Dave? Stanford is at 68. Purdue's at 67.
Sounds about right. And when I think of bottom of the barrel as far as power programs, those are definitely it.
Both have new head coaches.
They do.
Mm-hmm. And here's the interesting thing with Barry Odom. With Barry Odom coming back to the power conferences after leaving and going off to UNLV, where really Barry Odom resurrected his head coaching career.
Sure.
He did a heck of a job at UNLV. So we'll see what Barry Odom does. Right now, Purdue's sitting at 67. One other one real quick, then we'll move away from the bottom. West Virginia with Rich Rod is sitting at 66, which I find very interesting. See, I think Rich Rod will win. I don't think he'll win like he did in his first stint when he almost played for the national championship. But I think Rich Rod will win at West Virginia to a certain level.
I'm actually kind of surprised he decided to go back because I thought his gig at Jacksonville State was perfect. Again, he has led some high-profile programs like West Virginia in the past. Obviously, Michigan, when they were a prominent program back in the mid-2000s, and it seemed like going to a place like Jacksonville State where there's no expectations to kind of ride out the rest of your career seemed like the perfect fit for him. And again, he decided to take on the challenge of trying to restore West Virginia back to their prominence. The only thing is, he's not coming in as this innovative offensive mind like he was 20 or so years ago. So it's going to be definitely be a bigger challenge. Now, the Big 12 is more wide open than the Big East was back when he was, at the helm, 15, 20 years ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Obviously, he's got a big challenge ahead of him. Neil Brown did prove just a couple years ago this team could win a fair amount of games, which saved his job for another year. But, yeah, they got a lot of work to do out there in Morgantown.
And you're right about the innovator part. What Rich Rod was doing, running that spread offense, but running the ball out of the spread with Steve Slayton, Pat White, and Noel Devine. If I remember, well, you have the video game.
Yeah, Plow. Those are fun teams to play. Those were cheat codes.
Iconic team in video games, if I remember reading.
And look, we see this all the time when it comes to new offensive trends. We talk about the same thing with Hugh Freeze and what he's doing out there in Auburn. Yeah, 10 years ago, plus years ago, when he came in at Ole Miss, he was doing something different that took people time to catch up to. That's not the case anymore, which is why he struggled a little bit in his time at Auburn. Same thing with Rich Rodriguez. And again, when Jacksonville State came here a couple years ago, we're like, hey, watch out for how this offense runs. They're going to go fast-paced. They're going to fly up and down the field. South Carolina did have some trouble with that offense, but was able to hold on and win the game. So it's not this, grand equalizer like it used to be back in the day.
Well, and you make an interesting assumption or an interesting point about if you're Rich Rod, you could have said at Jacksonville State, gone to these low-level bowl games, winning 7, 8, 9 games. Every now and then you might upset somebody you shouldn't have. And you could have just sat there and put your feet on the table and made a nice little, high 6-figure, low 7-figure living, whatever they were paying him. But he had that itch to get back.
By the way, there's not a whole lot to do in Jacksonville, Alabama. I'll been there before.
I'll take your word for it. I've been in Jacksonville, Florida, never Jacksonville, Alabama.
By the way, we went to baseball camp there in high school.
Sorry.
I didn't learn until the week before that it wasn't in Florida. It was in Alabama. Because I was like, oh, cool, we get to go to Florida. No, it's in Alabama.
You know what they're doing? Shh, nobody tell Tyler. Nobody tell Tyler.
Listen, when you hear Jacksonville State, you're like, cool, let's go to Florida. And it's not in Florida.
No. So I think Rich Rod wanted to prove it to everybody and himself. He still had a fastball.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
And look, West Virginia is a sleeping giant. Let's just be honest.
And
they should be better.
You're going to get a long leash there because, again, this is a program that has struggled quite a bit since you have left. So you already have a good reputation there from your previous time there. You come in, you're trying to rebuild the thing. How long this lasts, I don't know. But, nobody's going to be saying, well, he hasn't gotten him to the Big 12 championship game in 3 years. Let's run him out of town. No, you have time to rebuild this thing.
Right. And really, this might have been the only power conference offer he was going to get anyway.
Probably.
And, West Virginia, because they have been so for so long, people forget that, again, if they beat Dave Wanstadt's Pitt Panthers in the backyard brawl,
they would play for a national
championship. West Virginia's playing for a national championship.
Yep.
They were really good under Don Neal, and they played for a national championship and lost to Notre Dame way back in the day. West Virginia, Don Nealon was a phenomenal head coach I think he was there for 100 years. West Virginia had a lineage and a tradition of being a good to really good college football program for a decent amount of time. And now they're like, they're not even a conversation about anything that matters in the world of college football. So they want to try to, like everybody does it sometimes, Tyler. Let's grab the glory days again. Let's go.
Sure.
Usually you're hiring people that played in the glory days, or now West Virginia's go back and get the coach that they had last time they were in the glory days.
Yeah, you're trying to rekindle the old flame, to say the least. Yeah. And again, in terms of coaching prospects of who they possibly could have gotten, maybe that's the best option for them. I don't know. Am I expecting them to have the same amount of success? I'm not.
Nope.
Could they become a solid team? Sure. Again, Big 12's wide open, so it's not like you're having to go in the gauntlet of the SEC or something like that. But, the days of them winning 10, 11 games in the regular season, I don't know if it's going to return to that glory, but they're going to take a shot at it, I guess.
Usually that second time around, not as good as the first time around. I had a buddy of mine went out with a girl in high school, and they were, deeply in love in high school, right? And they were the one the teacher always had to break them because they were making out before she'd walk into her class.
Right.
They were big time. Well, they broke up when they got to college. Years later, they rekindled on Facebook, right? So they're gonna do it again, right? My buddy's all excited. Here we go. Made a mistake after she never broke up in college. I can't wait. So they go out, right? I call him. I go, how'd it go? He goes, I don't know who had a worse time, her or me.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about time is people change over time.
A little bit.
So the person that you are getting back together with
not
5 years later, not the person you were with when you were back in high school.
Yeah. So my point is that second time around might not be as good as the first for West Virginia. All right, so South Carolina's 18th on this list. They talk about Lenore Sellers, and first of all, they talk about the quarterback. Obviously, Lenore Sellers is being looked at as a guy that could have a phenomenal year, maybe be in New York for a Heisman ceremony, maybe hear his name called in the top 10 picks in the NFL draft. A lot is being expected of Lenore Sellers.
Yep.
Likelihood of a multi-year quarterback, and they say here everything hinges on Sellers' development. Look, let's just be honest. I don't think we're breaking secrets where. Look, if Lenore Sellers plays the way everybody thinks he'll play, he's done. It's done.
If he has a phenomenal season, he's in here, he's out of here, and he's going to get drafted in the first round. And then we're saying, okay, is it Aaron Noland or Cutter Woods up next?
Right, and Aaron Noland was a top 60 prospect coming out of high school. Cutter Woods, a little bit we saw the spring game, was impressive. And he's one of these guys, they say winning follows him around the hallways at school.
Yep.
So one of those guys could be the guy, or if you go through this year and you watch Cutter Woods and Aaron Noland go about their business, and let's say Lenore Sellers has the season we all think he can have, and Sellers is rolling out to the NFL draft, South Carolina might not be confident in either Aaron Noland or Cutter Woods, and they'll hit the portal and go get a veteran.
Yeah.
That's the world we live in.
Yeah, and again, if you have Lenore Sellers have the success we hope he has this year, maybe this becomes a more destination place for quarterbacks. Like, hey, I want to go work with Mike Shula. I want to play in this offense, play with, a Nick Harbor for another year or something along those lines and get myself to the NFL. So you never know. It's quarterback might be the hardest position to project out years and years down the line because of how fluid it is. And again, only one guy gets on the field at a time. But yes, for this year, it's Lenore Sellers, and hopefully it goes well. And if it goes well enough, then he's probably not coming back for 26.
And they also talk about like the offensive line and defensive line outlooks because, again, the line of scrimmage, last time we checked, is kind of important in this whole winning a national championship thing. Defense lost a lot. You know that. Offensive line, a lot of returnees, a lot of interesting pieces. You got people in the portal, whatever the case. So they discussed the things we have been yapping about since the end of the season was offensive line's got a ton of pieces. Can you get it together to make a cohesive unit? And defensively, you're replacing pros.
Yep.
And then they talk about roster management and where they're at with that. And they discuss losing all those NFL-type players. And they talk about hitting the transfer portal, bringing in guys with high ceilings who might not have the resume, and also the discussion of are there any young ones that can come up and help? And they did bring up Brandon Cisse by name in this deal, the transfer portal. DB from NC State. They talk about star power with Sellers and Stewart. All these things come down to a lot of love for Shane as well in this whole deal. And they have them right now at 18 in this whole future setup. So top 20 when you're looking at 25 and 26. But the quarterback will be the biggest question mark for all this because if Sellers is great, Sellers is gone, then who steps in for 26?
Yeah.
That's
again,
where you'll be at.
18th out of 68. It's not a bad place to be.
And by the way, you want Sellers to play that well.
Yes. Yes. As much as you would love to say, hey, he's around for a couple more years, if he plays well enough to get himself to be a first-round draft pick, that probably means you're going to have a good season.
Yes. So we'll look at some of the teams ranked ahead of South Carolina because the Gamecocks on this list will tell you where they rank in the SEC, and the SEC teams ahead of them. We'll do that next. We are talking football and nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on The Game. Nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. On the Game with Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare here on the Game. All right, Dave, in a minute, we'll be going to yesterday's sound. So just preparing you. Get a little Greg McElroy in here. But we're going over this futures ranking from ESPN. South Carolina's at 18. And now the SEC, basically it's futures for this year and 2026. So it's a 2-year window. Yep. It's not just for this year. South Carolina, 18th overall. 7 teams in the SEC are ahead of the Gamecocks. Number 16 is Ole Miss. Again, they have a question mark at quarterback like a lot of the SEC does. Mm-hmm. Now, Kiffin didn't go kill the portal like he did going into this previous year. Right. But they still did a good job in the portal. Mm-hmm. But they have a question mark at quarterback, and they've lost a lot of talent off of last year's team.
They have. Again, last year was kind of their last dance of just bringing all this talent in. Jackson Dart's final year where they were supposed to go in and win it all, and they didn't even make the dance.
No, they did not. We were talking about this yesterday. That was just flat out an underachieving season. I don't care how many wins Ole Miss had, they should have been in the playoff.
Yeah.
That was one of the most talented rosters in college football. You need to be in the playoff.
Yep.
And I said this to you yesterday, and we'll find out moving forward. Is Lane one of those guys that's more comfortable flying under the radar? Sometimes coaches can't take being the hunted. They can't take being the favorite. They like better being the underdog.
That was the first time I feel like in Lane Kiffin's tenure as a head coach that we put that much expectation of, hey, here's what you're supposed to be. Because the year before, they won the most games in program history in a single season. Yep. Like, great. And they won whatever big bowl game they won that year during the 4-team era still. It's like, hey, look, they really overachieved this year. Then going into last year, it's like, okay, now you're expected to take that a step further. And in an expanded playoff, there is no excuse why you shouldn't be in the field, and they missed it.
Yep. So we'll see this year. They'll be flying under the radar again this year.
A little bit.
Maybe Lane will go back in his comfort zone.
Maybe.
We'll see. Next up is Florida at 15. Look, I get it, and I'm going to give Billy Napier props for still having a job. God love that man. After we figured he'd be, the first man fired last year. So, Florida at 15. The Gators played really well down the stretch. DJ Lagway looked like he could be the real deal at quarterback for multiple years. And that's part of this, is that Lagway, if things go the way Florida wants it, will be their quarterback for 2 more years.
Yeah, he is carrying a lot of the water here for Florida, because if they just had an average quarterback or somebody that wasn't really thought of to be one of the better ones in the SEC, I think the pressure on Billy Napier going into the year would be even greater. And we would be thinking there's no way he survives the season. But Lagway has the ability to play them out of a lot of trouble this year.
And their offensive line should be good in theory. 4 starters coming back. Defensively, they do have talent. They should be – that schedule's still a killer.
Mm-hmm. It's the same schedule from last year.
Right. They just flip it around.
And they got Miami again, Florida State again.
And Florida State can't be as bad this year.
Never say never.
Right?
Never say never. But I don't think it'll be as big of a layup as it was last year.
So Florida at 15 is a bit of a reach, but the Gators are ahead of South Carolina as well. Also at number 11, is it? Let me see. No, 11. At number 10 is Alabama. Again, they have a quarterback question mark as well.
Yep.
But a ton of talent on both sides of the ball, like Alabama always has had. So Bama's sitting at 10, but I think the big question mark will be what happens at quarterback.
Yes.
That's going to be a huge deal at Tuscaloosa.
Ty Simpson's been around. He's had ample opportunity to take the spot, and he hasn't done it yet.
Number 9, the Tennessee Volunteers. We were yipping about Tennessee a little bit yesterday. Is the key here, Joey Aguilar or whoever is going to be the starting quarterback. Can you just point guard? You don't have to be special. You don't have to be like, showing off your rocket arm down the field. All you got to do is run the offense, make that first read, hit the open man, and let the playmakers do the rest. If Tennessee can get that out of a quarterback, they should have a good year. But that's the question mark is, can you get it out of a Joey Aguilar or whoever could be behind center for you? Next up, LSU at 8. We'll see. We shall see.
I think the pressure is greater than ever on Brian Kelly because kind of like South Carolina, you're bringing back one of the better quarterbacks. I've seen Nussmeier projected as the number 1 overall pick in some people's mock drafts. You always have talent around him on that offense. Again, ever since year number 1, this has been a program that's been underachieving under Brian Kelly. Given the talent that they had, all the guys they put in the NFL, regularly losing games they don't have any business losing, like to Florida last year.
Whose butt is more on fire? Kalen DeBoer, Brian Kelly?
Equal? Is that a cop-out answer?
Yeah.
Because I think if both of them underachieve this year, there's a realistic chance. And I know it's crazy to say somebody could get bounced after 2 years, but if Kalen DeBoer misses the playoff again, that doesn't cut it in Tuscaloosa.
I'm telling you, another 9-win year and you miss the postseason.
In an expanded playoff, which should have been easy to make in theory for Alabama. If Brian Kelly wins like 8 games this year and they're playing in the Who Gives a Crap Bowl, then yeah, that's not going to cut it out in LSU. For now, again, you have an insane buyout, which may keep them around a little bit longer.
That's why I feel like DeBoer.
The belief in that this program's going the right direction would be out the window.
I feel like DeBoer is a bit more on a hot seat because of who he followed.
Yes, which again, as we often said, you don't want to be the guy after the guy, and he learned that lesson in year number 1, certainly.
Yep. So LSU sitting at 8. Also ahead of South Carolina in this little thought exercise. Oh, my bad. There it is. Georgia at 3, which, again, not a surprise, not a shock. Georgia being in the top 3. Their deal is Gunnar Stockton. He's going to be able to step in, run the offense. You got playmakers. You went out in the portal and got some receivers. Georgia should be a better football team this upcoming year, but it all comes down to can Gunnar Stockton run that offense.
And can their defense be better? Like last year was very uncharacteristic of a Kirby Smart team where the defense, especially against the run, could not stop anybody. Like that was so bizarre to watch because their standard has always been, regardless of how the offense has been, and it's had its ups and downs, defense has always been good. Was not good enough last year.
And number 1 is Texas.
Yeah, again, we talked to a Texas guy the other day, Brad Kellner of Texas Sports Unfiltered. I mean, it's natty or bust. You've been knocking on the door the past 2 years, semifinals, and again, if you do call a better play down at the goal line, maybe you're playing for a national championship and winning it last year. There is no expectation below a national championship this season. You got Arch Manning, who's supposed to be the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. That's barely started only a handful of games, but you've got the allegedly $25 to $40 million roster. You got everything. Now go out there and win.
Yeah. I mean, that's really where you're at. We shall see.
We'll see.
Number 1, I mean, you look at Sark, and he's put it together. I said this yesterday. I've given out my formal apologies to Steve Sarkisian multiple times. I didn't think he had this in him because he didn't show it at Southern Cal. He didn't show it at UW. But once again, where'd he go? To the Saban Rehabilitation Center.
Yes, he did.
And he learned a lot from Nick.
He did. And again, the commentary on them last year was, okay, you've been doing that in the Big 12, coming to the SEC and make that happen. They came in the SEC, played for the SEC championship, and made it farther than any other SEC team did in the playoffs. So they have proven themselves that they have the staying power here.
Now, again, I think it's just a coincidence they got a really easy schedule.
That certainly helped them out. And again, when they played the toughest team that they went up against in the conference, that Georgia, they lost to them twice, obviously. But again, they're going to consistently be a 10 to 11 win team in the regular season more often than not. They're not going anywhere.
All right. We talk football and nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Greg McElroy, doing his podcast like he does every week, had some thoughts on defensive coordinator Clayton White. And we'll get those next as we talk football in the 1 o'clock hour right here on The Game. right, nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. All right, Greg McElroy doing his podcast. It's weekly, isn't it? McElroy, for the most part?
A couple times a week. It's always college football.
Yep.
Yeah, he does it a couple times a week.
Is it a couple times a week? And my buddy from SEC Media Days last year.
Yeah, totally.
My dude.
Sure.
Gym buddy. My gym buddy, Greg McElroy.
I'm sure you can't wait to catch up with him next month.
See him in the gym again. Hey!
Hey, Timmy. How's it going?
It's so funny. I didn't know who he was. Like,
really? You didn't?
I just didn't compute.
Is he like shorter in person?
I just, you know how it is when you see these people in certain ways, and all of a sudden they're in like gym. He wasn't wearing like his TV gear with makeup on, so he was like in gym clothes, and I'm just in there like usual. You know, I'm deadlifting 600.
I'm glad you didn't start trash talking him like, you know who I can't stand? That McElroy schmuck.
McElroy guy sucks. Because I was just sitting there like talking to him, just like, you know, whatever. Not, you know, and then finally we're downstairs, like second day, and I'm like, oh, okay.
It's McElroy.
Makes sense. We were like, oh, hey, what's up? But so my gym buddy, Greg McElroy, on his podcast, I was talking about South Carolina. Let's get cut to, Dave. First of all, McElroy discussing defensive coordinator Clayton White.
Clayton White, their defensive coordinator, has done an amazing job. I think he does such a solid job of making sure that his defensive backs are extremely physical, his safeties are really versatile, and he allows those defensive linemen to pin their ears back and get after the opposing quarterback. He's been there for 5 years. He understands exactly where he is. He's constantly in the running for the Broyles Award, and rightfully so. The guy.
Yeah, you know, isn't it interesting? You want to rewind a couple years?
Sure. How many?
2.
Okay.
Let's go back to the rough 5 and 7.
Yep.
Defense is getting no pass rush. Defensive backs are being, you know, left on islands or being exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Linebackers, you know, aren't real playmakers. You know, you've had some injury issues. You got some guys maybe who have the want to, but just athletically, you know, or a step or two behind.
Yep.
And the talk was, hey, might need a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Clayton and Shane, you know, had a little come to Jesus about the defense. They switched up that 3-3-5. All of a sudden, they're getting heat on quarterbacks, which made the secondary better.
Generating turnovers.
They, you know, got Nicky Manwari and DQ Smith out of the slot and moved Jalen Kilgore in there. And then all of a sudden, defense took off that last month, and it kept taking off all through last year. And now who's up for the Broyles Award at times?
Clayton White. How many guys did he just put in the NFL this past year? Quite a few.
Whose name did we hear possibly for that Appalachian State head coaching gig that his buddy Dow Loggins got?
The difference a year makes where you go from, is this guy even going to be here next year as in terms of keeping his job, or is he going to leave somewhere and go become a head coach? So, yeah, and by the way, mainstay. He's been here the entire time the Shane Beavers have been here, which is a rarity in today's world of college football for one coordinator to be in place for that long. But yeah, well-deserved praise coming off last year. Now you got to go back it up.
Look, and the thing I like about it is Clayton's just a really good dude.
Sure.
I mean, he is a great guy. You always like to see the nice people get stuff, because we see the jackasses get stuff.
Of course.
It'd be nice to see the.
He always opens his press. How you guys doing?
So
How we
funny.
doing today? We're excited. Let's answer some questions.
You know, and so, you know, when you look at the defense, what I feel like they learned last year was, you know what makes your defense excellent? Really good players.
Mm-hmm. That helps.
Dylan Stewart, you know, coming off the edge. You know, you got NFL draft picks littering through your defense. You know, and then to Clayton's credit, look, you try things, but sometimes you try things that don't work, and that's fine.
It's trial and error.
But at some point, you got to realize, okay, that guy's not in the right spot to succeed. And that 5 and 7 year, again, they tried Nicky Manwari at the slot. And look, Nicky Manwari, second-round pick in the NFL draft, freakish athletic ability, plays the run really well, plays passing lanes well, and it seems like he's better in zone playing back as a safety. But in the slot, it just wasn't working. DQ Smith, same thing, couldn't cover the slot. But once you go through and find your guys, then you stick with once you find the right one. But I get the trial and error. But to give Clayton props, when he saw it wasn't working,
He switched it up.
he switched it up. I mean, look, I know, you know, Clayton wasn't alone in making this decision, but going to that 3-3-5 2 years ago in November, that defense was totally different. And they were getting after quarterbacks. And all of a sudden, you're forcing turnovers. Your DBs are better in coverage because you're getting heat. Last year, you got even more heat.
Yeah.
So the lesson learned is go get some really good dudes who can hit quarterbacks, and that makes everybody better in the passing defense.
Because again, the shorter amount of time quarterbacks have to sit back there and throw, the less time your DBs have to be in coverage, the less time your linebackers are having to cover guys that are coming across on their routes, and it helps out the entire defense. And again, you've got one of those pieces in Dylan Stewart, obviously on one side, but who's going to replace, maybe it's not one person, maybe it's a couple guys, that production that Kyle Kennard had on the other side, where you had two threats. And again, it's the pick your poison. Okay, we're going to double that guy, but that's going to leave that guy wide open. Like, do you have that threat on the other side that can complement Dylan Stewart so he can run free? Or in the case of them doubling him, somebody else can come off the other side and get that pressure.
And the other thing South Carolina, I think, learned last year was you need athletic, fast linebackers.
Yes.
Guys who can go sideline to sideline, guys who can make plays at the line of scrimmage. You saw the effect that Knight had on the game, and also how it freed up and helped Debo, and also Kamara when he was there, or a Bam Martin Scott, or whoever was put out there at linebacker. There was speed and athleticism out there, and it feels like this defensive crew in general, we're seeing a lot more athleticism.
Yeah.
I think, again, you see last year and you go like this, okay, we kind of want to do that every year somehow.
That should be your blueprint for exactly what you want to replicate going forward. But again, and as McElroy alluded to in that clip the other day, you had so much senior production coming back. Again, you had tons of experience up front. You had tons of experience in the middle, tons of experience on the back end that you just don't have this year.
No, you
have, if we went back and calculated snaps, I'd be willing to think you have maybe a third or a fourth of the total snaps in production returning on defense compared to a year ago.
All right, so you lost 3 up front that really mattered. You lost 3 linebackers.
Yep, all
and
3.
You lost 2 DBs.
Yep, that's pretty significant. Again, the only sure thing we know about is Dylan Stewart. Everything else on this defense is a question mark to some degree, and we feel pretty good about Brandon Cisse and occupying one of those either regular corner spots or playing the slot corner spot, because we've seen what he's done in his time at NC State. But everything everything past that is still kind of up in the air in a lot of ways.
All right, McElroy, let's get cut 3, Dave. Greg McElroy was talking about the interior of the defensive line, which you lost all 3 of your guys, your big rotation guys from last year. So here's McElroy talking about the interior of the D-line for South Carolina.
The main issue for me when evaluating where South Carolina was going to be is on the interior of their defensive line. That's the group that did not get nearly enough credit last year. All we wanted to do was talk about the edges, and rightfully so. Those 2 guys were incredible. But the interior presence of TJ Sanders, Tonka Hemingway, Boogie Huntley, DeAndre Jules, those guys now departing has left a pretty significant void of experience and disruption there at defensive tackle for South Carolina. Can they adequately replace some of those pieces on the interior? That might be the biggest question.
We're going to find out. You got some interesting pieces, whether it's former 5-star recruits, big-time JUCO recruits, some guys you're hoping will be next man up. You've got, again, you got some guys that are compelling, but you want to talk about big shoes to fill, man? Gigantic, ginormous shoes, like those clown shoes?
Yep.
You got big clown shoes to fill from the interior of that defensive line. That's how big of the shoes are. Again, you got talent, you just have unproven talent.
Yep, for sure. And again, this is a team that, I think you're going to have to rely on the offense in a lot of ways to maybe kind of carry the load a little bit this year compared to where the defense was doing that last year. And you hope that, the defensive side of the ball can catch up as the season goes along. But again, it's going to be a work in progress and kind of a wait and see type of thing.
All right, again, Schroeder's Towing Road shows. Thursday at Angry Fish from 3 to 6, Elijah Campbell will be hanging out there. And then Friday, Liberty on the Lake at Lake Murray. I know Gunner will be there for sure. Preston might be along for the ride, too. That will be 6 to 9. So Schroeder's Towing Road shows here on the game. Firehouse Sub text the hour next, 803-404-6100 on the halftime show with David Aaron, Tyler Head, and Terry Ford on the game. All right, let's get our Firehouse sub text of the hour at 803-404-6100. What do you got, man?
Let's see here. Reference to your lack of loving headphones on top of your head. Amos Texter says, Terry, wear a hat.
You know what? I might start doing that.
I have an extensive hat collection if you need to borrow some.
I might have to borrow. I've got a couple. I used to wear a ton of hats back in the day. Well, I had a ton. A lot of hats.
Is that what made you go bald?
No, I didn't wear them that much, though.
I've always heard that if you wear hats too much, you'll go bald.
I didn't wear them that much, though, like that.
Okay.
I didn't wear them, like, all the time. I had a bunch of hats. I just wear them every now and then. No, I think I went bald because I believe that it's your mother's it's your mother's father, right?
Okay. Is that
what it is?
Is that how that works?
I think. Yeah, that dude must have been bald at 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'm in okay shape then because my grandfather had hair.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I hit 40, still was there. It was still there. I was doing all right.
Okay.
I was feeling pretty good. And then,
at what point did you start to notice, like, uh-oh?
it was. I'll tell you when it really was bad. So I still had my ponytail, right?
Yeah.
And I'm walking through a mall with my girlfriend, and I see a dude who's losing his hair, but he's got like a ponytail, like a mullet ponytail or whatever.
Sure.
And I looked at her. I said, "Tell me the truth. Is that how I'm going to look?" She's like, "Probably." I said, "Okay." Went over to Great Clips.
It was
over. It was over right there.
Wow.
Like he looked like some guy from Cops.
Sure.
Yeah, he did. He looked like that dude where you go, "Oh yeah, I'm not surprised." And I was like, "I'm not looking like that guy." So that was the day where it was like it was done. Don't get me wrong. I cried uncontrollably, and I took my 1-foot ponytail home and spent the weekend with it, and then said goodbye and gave it away so they could use it for charity.
I'm sure they used it.
Oh yeah, just a foot of hair. It was like, so yeah, that's when I realized it was done. It was done. So anyway, I might start wearing a hat if this earbud thing keeps going sideways. That's why I wear a hat when we do like shows.
Yes, because you do have to wear the headset.
I got to wear the headset, and it drives me insane. It bugs my head and my 7 hairs.
I guess I never thought about that, but you're right. I just thought you wanted to always identify where you're at because you wear the game hat.
Yeah, well, that too. I always want to, game gear, baby.
Sure.
Represent. Wear our stuff. That's why.
Could have fooled me. I never thought about it that way, but now I won't be able to look at you differently.
Like, you'll never think of me the same when I have my hat on.
Absolutely not.
From this point on. All right. I appreciate the text, 803-404-6100. All right, Dave. Aaron Rodgers, speaking of the media yesterday, as we flipped to the NFL during our 1 o'clock hour of Nothing But Football, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. All right, first of all, here's Aaron Rodgers talking about playing for Mike Tomlin. This is cut 4. Hit it, Dave.
I think it starts with Mike Tomlin. I mean, I've been a fan of his for a long time. There's a few iconic franchises in the NFL. I played for one of them for 18 years. This is another one of those. There's something special about, obviously, this area. So many great quarterbacks are from Pittsburgh. I feel like Pittsburgh has been a part of my career from the beginning.
How is Pittsburgh part of his career from the beginning? Played at Cal.
Yeah.
Played JUCO in California.
Yeah.
Played for the Packers. Notice he didn't bring up the Jets being an iconic franchise. You notice that, right?
He skipped right over that.
Iconically awful. That last line of I didn't quite understand that. I mean, I get the thing like, Joe Montana, Joe Namath are from Pennsylvania, blah, blah, blah. There are a lot of quarterbacks that did come from PA over the years. But when he said that last line, I'm like, well, what exactly did that mean?
This is going to be an interesting dynamic between those two because, again, you're talking about two guys that have at times been the respective best at their positions in the NFL at head coach and quarterback. The coexisting is going to be interesting.
Well, look, Aaron Rodgers can say what he wants. We're going to hear about his offseason in a second. He can say whatever, but look, at the end of the day, he didn't have a lot of suitors.
No, it seemed like the only one.
And at the end of the day, the Steelers really needed a quarterback.
Yes.
You can say what you want. Mason Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, whatever. I mean, you had to go get Aaron Rodgers or end up trading for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he was the best of the options that you had.
Right. So they need each other. Let's just be real.
They do.
All right. Speaking of needing someone, Aaron Rodgers kind of made an announcement about his personal life during the presser yesterday. Hit it, Dave.
Last ring finger, is that an Oura ring or anything else? That wedding ring?
Yeah, it's a wedding ring.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How long ago?
It's been a couple months.
Doesn't say who it is.
No, you would have thought we would have known this by now.
And I guess you want to keep your private life private, and I respect it.
I guess.
Is the wife okay with that?
I don't know. It's not a high-profile celebrity like all the girls he dated in the past.
So it might work. This
I
one
think so.
might actually work. All righty. Well, Aaron Rodgers is doing this for his soul, right? What's trending at 2 is next here on the game. We talk about the Men's Clinic of South Carolina a lot here on this show. Why? Because, look, we're all getting older. We're guys. Things just aren't like they used to be. Whether it's you don't sleep like you used to, you can't bench or curl like you used to at the gym. Your recovery from exercise is painful. You can't remember stuff. You have a lack of drive, whether it's personal, sexual, professional, whatever. You just don't feel like yourself anymore. And it could just be low testosterone. It could be that easy. You call the Men's Clinic at 803-875-MENS. You set up an appointment. You have a free confidential consultation. If Dr. Dan and the staff think it could be low testosterone, they will then do lab work. If it comes back low T, this is the best part. They'll put you on a program specifically designed for you to get back to being you again. 803-875-MENS. Make that call to the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Feel like you again. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry, Gamecock Traditions. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare here on the game. All right, Tyler Back has committed to South Carolina, according to Gamecock Central. Back played 2 years at Wofford, hit .311, on-base percentage of .429, only slugged .402. But because his on-base percentage is so high, his OPS is .831. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. Again, a guy that gets on base, steals bags. In 2025 as a sophomore, hit .311, stole 15 bases in 17 attempts, struck out 29 times, walked 23. That's pretty good walk-to-strikeout ratio. And again, in his career, a .429 on-base percentage. That's pretty good stuff right there. That's a guy that's going to get on. If he can transform his game from Wofford to the SEC, he'll get on base, and he'll steal you some bags. And speaking of baseball, the transfer portal as it is kicked in. We yipped about it in the opening riff of the show, and we were going to say, later on we're going to dig into a little bit more of some of the players coming in and maybe some of the under-the-radar guys. There's a JUCO transfer named Patrick Evans. First team All-Region. He was an infielder from Florence Darlington Technical College. You know where that's at, right?
Somewhere in the Florence Darlington area, I'm sure.
Well, so Evans, a source called Evans the best junior college player they've ever seen. Evans, first team All-Region, hit .453, 10 bombs, 75 RBIs, only struck out 15 times in 190 at-bats, stole 18 bases in 20 tries. That ain't bad.
Sounds pretty
good.
Now,
again, that's JUCO. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
But that's some numbers right there.
Yep.
So that's a very interesting player to keep that guy in the back of your head. Is it going to mean anything moving forward? I don't know. But that's a player in Evans. There's some folks who are pretty high on. Also, some names: Dawson Harmon, Caleb Hoover. Harmon played at the College of Central Florida. You know where that's at, right?
Central Florida.
Look at you. You are a geographical genius. 370, 24 homers, 65 RBIs for Harmon. Hoover, 339, 16 homers, 49 RBIs, and 41 games at Grayson College. You know where that's at, right?
Grayson.
Look at you. But those are some JUCO bats, because we always focus on, the guys transferring in from the power leagues, things of that nature. The kid Logan Sutter from Purdue, who we hope is going to be a power bat. But, JUCO guys pop.
I mean,
it happens all the time.
Boyda was a JUCO guy and, ends up being, I think, one of your bigger portal losses this offseason so far.
I agree with that a ton. I think losing him, you and I said, if we made a short list of guys to keep,
he was going to be one of them. And again, he earned his way into being in a regular in the lineup, mainly playing that DH spot. And again, could hit for power pretty well, all things considered. And yeah, again, he was a JUCO guy playing in, I think it was one of the Kansas JUCO teams last year. Brandon Stone, again, another JUCO guy that came in and earned his way in to being a weekend starter. Now, again, the results ended up being a little bit mixed there, obviously, but at times looked like one of the best pitchers you had on the roster. So, yeah, you can get very quality talent from these JUCO ranks that, for whatever reason or the other, maybe flew under the radar, come out of high school, or didn't get the offers they wanted right out of the gate, and are playing at this level to earn their opportunity to go up higher. And again, we've seen guys have success coming from there and transitioning into South Carolina.
I just saw this headline that does not surprise me at all. The House settlement kicked in. Guess what? Women's sports athletes file appeal on House versus NCAA settlement citing Title IX violations.
And here we go.
It's on.
It's on.
And look, this is not a surprise. A lot of people thought female athletes would be suing. And we haven't even gotten to the NIL clearinghouse yet, which that's coming to litigation.
Well, remember, there was a period of time once this, $20.5 million thing was put out there, because Title IX is supposed to allow equal opportunities for men's and women's sports. So does that mean you have to split the revenue evenly between them? Now, it doesn't seem like that's the case, but I'm sure that's part of the pushback they're trying to say here is, hey, you know, if you're going to be divvying up this money, then women's sports should get a certain percentage of it. And obviously, when we talk about non-revenue sports that could potentially be getting cut, you're talking about a lot of women's sports that could be on the chopping block.
Yeah, and we've heard what's it going to be, like 75 to football.
Yep.
15% to men's basketball. Was it 5% to women's basketball? And then
somewhere around there, you know, somewhere around the same for baseball, and then whatever's left goes
right.
everywhere else.
And so if you're a female athlete, you're going, wait a minute, rev share what?
Yeah.
Who? And, you know, like you said, there are some women's sports that could go away. So women are, a group of women's athletes have filed an appeal, which I totally understand, because what do you do when the NCAA does anything?
Take them to court.
Take them to court, baby. Take them to court. And, you know, as we talk about that, the settlement, we didn't really get touch on this much yesterday when you and I were yipping about it. If you're a basketball-only school and you don't look like you're Gonzaga, how much does this help you?
Oh, tremendously.
Yeah.
No, the Gonzagas, the
Big East.
the Butlers, and I know Butler has football, but it's FCS football, so it doesn't command as much money.
Xavier. Xavier, a team like Xavier.
The Big East, the St. Mary's of the world, programs like that might end up coming out better than everybody else because they can focus more money. And look, are they going to be able to have the $20.5 million? No, not necessarily. But again, they don't have to worry about that 75% going to football. They can put the bulk of their assets into college basketball and may end up becoming the dominant teams because of that.
Let's go to Gonzaga. Let's say they don't go up to 20 million. Let's say they go to 12 or 14.
But if you're putting, I don't know, half of that towards
Even
men's
more,
basketball,
maybe,
even more than that, maybe 9 million, then yeah, you could be in a pretty good spot.
Think about that for a minute. So, and here's the ironic part. And I saw a blurb on this. I didn't get a chance to go read it because, you know, Sean Miller went to Texas where you have all those resources, right? Unlimited resources. But he left a place that's going to have a lot of resources for basketball in Xavier.
Yep.
And Xavier basketball might be in a better spot through rev share than Texas basketball.
Sure. Well, you think about schools like Duke and Kentucky that are obviously basketball first kind of schools, there's still going to be a lot of money going to football. And again, where you draw that line is going to be interesting because, again, well, what Cooper Flagg was getting like $20 million to be at, Duke for this past year.
I like where you're going with that point there, especially like Duke. Let's be real, Duke doesn't care about football. They don't care.
They don't. It's something to do until, Midnight Madness.
Right. And then it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
So what is going to be your rev share split? How are you going? Again, football is going to get more than everything else. That's just the way it is right now. But what is going to be like a place like Duke? What is that? I don't think that split's going to be 75-15.
No. And if Manny Diaz is sitting in the AD's office saying, yeah, I think we need 75% going to football, is he going to get laughed out of there?
Oh yeah, no doubt he's going to get laughed at. You're going to go like this. Yeah, Manny, sure, yeah, Manny.
Or is John Shire going to get to name his amount, and then Manny Diaz gets whatever's left over?
Yeah, I mean, a place like that. Now, Kentucky's going to be an interesting case study.
Yeah.
I think Mark Stoops is on the hot seat.
Oh, without a doubt.
He just lost his boy Morrow. His right-hand guy just left and went to Louisville.
But he is getting paid in the top 10 of all coaches in college football, so they can't just not give him resources, right?
No, well, in theory, you would think, no, Kentucky football is still going to get most of that rev share, but I can't see you going 75-15
No.
when you got that basketball program. I just can't see you doing it.
And again, we talk about NIL isn't going away. That's still going to be there, and that's still going to get you the higher profile guys. So it's like, okay, well, if football is getting majority of the rev share money, does that mean they're tipping the majority of the NIL money to basketball and football gets a lot less of that?
Well,
I don't know.
It would have to be something like that because, again, you got this clearinghouse ridiculousness you got to deal with.
Yes, that totally is going to work.
Yeah, no one's going to sue that idea and win.
I don't know. I'm a hotshot quarterback, and they told me I can't get $5 million for from this local lawn care company.
Yeah. Right. So what you're going to do is you're going to local lawn care company, like you said the other day. I need a lot of checks for $599.99. That's what I need.
Fly under it.
So that's really going to be your balance. Once you get this clearinghouse nonsense out of the way, that's going to be the way you go. Okay, rev shares, let's say whatever your big percentage of football, but then your collective is going to have to like pay for your basketball program.
Does this make some jobs undesirable?
Yeah.
Like, okay, do I want to go become the coach at Duke or Kentucky for football because I know I'm now second? You've always been second fiddle to basketball, but especially now in terms of the resources you can get for your program are not going to be that of your counterparts in the same conference.
Well, because let's be honest here, we know this. I'm not saying anything that people don't know. If you don't have money, you're not going to win.
No, you're not. And here's the thing: as successful as Alabama basketball's been these past couple years, if Nate Oates comes in and starts trying to take money away from football, they're going to laugh at him.
And right now, here's the funniest part. Alabama's basketball program was better than Alabama's football program.
It is, but again, football is still the main point around there, and they're going to give Kalen DeBoer everything he can to succeed there.
Yes.
They would just as well cut the basketball program if it meant football could go back to the playoff.
I was going to say, if you went to the fan base, or forget the athletic department at Alabama, and said, the Crimson Tide, we guarantee, will be in the college football playoff for the next 5 straight years if you cut your basketball program.
Done.
See ya.
See ya.
Hey, Nate, nice suit. Have a good one. Called you an Uber. See you, Bob.
Maybe we can turn the arena into a football practice facility or something.
A bubble for football. But that's just the reality of this. So what you're going to do, again, once you figure out how to weasel around this clearinghouse, or once someone goes to court and deems it illegal, which is going to happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Football is going to get 75% in Alabama. Men's basketball will get 15%, and then the collectives will work on men's basketball. I feel like that's the way it's going to go.
Probably.
A lot of these schools.
Yeah.
All right, we are checking out what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Interesting little NBA note about a superstar player who once again could get traded. And we'll say why you can make a mistake thinking you are who you aren't. This is a great lesson in this. We'll get to it next. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions, here on the Halftime Show on the Game. All right, so we are rolling What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions here on the halftime show on The Game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Adair. Well, it's official. Week 1 college game day.
Yep.
Columbus, Ohio.
That is correct. Lee Corso's final game day.
And that's where he first did his headgear, right?
He did. Well, that wasn't the first. That was the first headgear. Was Brutus the Buckeye?
Yep.
I don't know where the first actual game day show was, but
His first headgear was Ohio State, right?
I have a strong feeling he's probably going to put on Brutus one more time just to book in the both of them.
Yeah.
Now it was interesting because Florida State and Alabama play in Tallahassee, and of course that's his alma mater. And people thought there was a strong possibility that maybe he goes home for one final time and all that kind of stuff, but. And here's the interesting thing. I brought this up yesterday. So this can be a noon kick, big noon Saturday on Fox and all that kind of stuff. They moved the show inside the stadium for noon kicks. So his final headgear won't be in front of a big audience unless the horseshoe puts it on the big screen and allows the entire stadium to hear it. I don't know if they will, but I'm kind of split on like, man, you're not going to have that crowd behind you cheering you on.
To me, you need him outside of the stadium with the crowd so he can play and mess around with the crowd like he always did.
Yeah.
And then put the headgear on and get the woo or the boo.
Yeah.
And the place is electric because that's when he's inside the stadium, it's just not the same.
It's not, again, unless the horseshoe puts it on the big screen and it lets everyone hear it, which would be awesome. I don't know if they're going to.
That's the way you have to do it.
Because, again, that's going to be a Fox game and Big Noon Saturday is going to be there and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, but I really hope they do.
I just either what you said or just keep him outside with the crowd because that's where he made his bones.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe they will do that.
I hope. That'd be great.
Because I think Big Noon Saturday, or the Big Noon kick is like 12:10-ish, so you can still have people, give him enough time to get in the stadium and all that kind of stuff, but he needs a crowd behind him to do this.
To me, that's always where it was special.
Yes.
Nick Saban kind of shot down the rumor of what he started putting on the mascot head. Nick was like, I hope not. I hope they don't ask me to do that. I'm mess up my hair.
It would be fun one time.
Just once.
Just to, and you know what? Maybe everybody puts on a mascot head for the final time just to do it with him. But yeah, that wouldn't be a consistent thing.
I think if you're going to, look, you need to retire it.
Yeah, nobody needs to do it. Not McAfee, not Saban.
That's my fear. And I'm okay with
not
Pat
Herb
McAfee.
Street. Yeah.
I'm not a McAfee hater at all. I think Pat McAfee can be funny and entertaining. He can be. But no one should be putting the mascot head on. That's done.
Not at all.
That's
Again, you'll still have your celebrity guest picker. You can make your picks and all that kind of stuff and play to the crowd there. But nobody needs to put on the headgear.
And by the way, don't try to come up with something to replace the headgear either.
No, it's all over. It's not going to stick.
No, just from this point on, you just move forward. You can't try to, okay, what are we going to replace the headgear? Nothing.
No.
Who's going to put the headgear on? No one.
No.
It's over.
You make your picks.
It's done.
You end the show.
That's where you get your celebrity picker in there, and you just organically. Now, organically, if something happens over the next year or two, you fall into something.
Now,
but don't try to force anything.
Now, maybe without Corso there, do you lean into the celebrity guest picker a little bit more and make it more about them in that last segment? Maybe so.
But I look. Usually when these, because look, the headgear thing just happened organically.
Sure.
A lot of times the best things are things that just happen on the show in the moment and it becomes something.
It's almost like a nickname, right? You can't force a nickname. You can't say, hey guys, I want to be called this. Like it just happens based on something else happening and it sticks with you.
Whenever you met someone, where'd you get the nickname? Well, I gave it to myself.
It doesn't work that way.
No, it changes the whole dynamic of everything.
Your nickname becomes puke when you throw up all over yourself, and then that lives with you for the next 30 years.
So I just hope they understand, first of all, nobody else puts the headgear on.
Nope.
2, don't try to come up with some other gimmicky thing to replace it. Just do your picks, bring your celebrity picker in, and at some point, if you, in the course of this season, fall into something, fine.
Yeah. And if as you get to the final segment, if you want to have the two headgears of the respective schools on the table in front of you as an ode to him, fine. But nobody puts it on.
Right. Absolutely not. All right, so Lee Corso's last game will be Texas and Ohio State. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. So Kevin Durant is a Hall of Famer. That's no doubt. First ballot. Kevin Durant, watching the NBA, over the last, for my whole life, but in Kevin Durant's generation, there is not a more lethal, efficient, versatile scorer than Kevin Durant. He is unstoppable. Durant can just get the ball and go, hey, you want me to shoot threes and beat you? Want me to beat you off the bounce? Want me to pull up at the free throw line and beat you? Want me to go in the paint and beat you? How would you like me to score on you? Because you know what? You pick it and I'll do it.
Right.
Kevin Durant's a 2-time finals MVP in Golden State. What Kevin Durant isn't is a leader. He's just not, and that's okay. Not every great player is a leader, and that's all right. Well, Kevin Durant left Golden State because he wanted to go be a leader and prove to the whole world he can go win a title, being the leader of a team, and not having to be part of like the guys in Golden State, right? Went to Brooklyn. How many titles did he win in Brooklyn?
None.
How many titles did he win in Phoenix?
None.
Word is Kevin Durant could be on the move again because there's some smoke that he could be dealt out of Phoenix. If you deal him to a team, he doesn't want to go back to Golden State. He's already said, I don't want to go back to Golden State. I don't know how they pay him anyway, how bad they are with the luxury tax and apron. But like Houston needs a scorer like nobody's business. You got leaders. You got young leaders. You got older leaders. You got guys that are going to handle. If you would get Kevin Durant and just say, dude, do us a favor. Just go make buckets all day. Yes, you're not in your prime Kevin Durant, but you're still really good.
Sure.
You can be our number one option on offense. Just go do it.
Yeah.
There are teams in the NBA who need Kevin Durant to come in there and be their number one scorer, but they don't need him. They don't need him to try to be a leader because he's not.
Yeah.
And Kevin Durant decided he was going to leave Golden State and go show everybody that he was something he's not. And look what it's done.
Play your role.
Every now and then you got to know who you are. Right. And there would have been nothing wrong with staying in Golden State. Probably would have won 2 or 3 more titles. And all you be is the number one lethal, all-around offensive option on a team filled with talent. And you have to be a leader. They had a bunch of them. They got a bunch of them.
Yep.
Again, know your role, said that great philosopher, The Rock.
And
know your role.
Know your role and shut your mouth.
Exactly.
That was the full quote.
Exactly. So Kevin Durant could be on the trading block. Again, it didn't work in Phoenix. This is what happens when you go star hunting. Don't go in the NBA now. Let's see. You got Oklahoma City, built through the draft.
Yep.
And not star hunting. We see Milwaukee win, built through the draft, not star hunting. We see teams now winning the NBA championship. Denver, built through the draft, not star hunting.
Indiana,
built through the draft and trades. This whole star hunting idea is done.
Yep.
The second apron has really handcuffed teams financially to go put together the 3-star system. So you got to stop trying to do it because Phoenix cratered their team by not only getting Durant, but then the really dumb move was Bradley Beal. And look what it did to him. So the star hunting thing is over right now in the NBA. By the way, this will be the 7th or 8th straight year we have a different champion in the NBA.
I believe it's 7th.
Never happened in the history of the league.
More parity than ever.
Yep. How about that? All right, that's what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Today, I've lost track of what the days are. 11th?
June the 11th.
It's the greatest day in the history of the world. We'll talk about that next here on the Halftime Show on the Game. Oh, greatest day in the history of the world, June 11th, here on the halftime show. We go old school here, Tyler. 1919, we got two old school. Walter Hagen wins the U.S. Open in a one-stroke playoff over Michael Brady. I think Peter Brady's brother, older brother.
Sure.
The thing, do you remember, you ever see Bagger Vance, movie Bagger Vance?
I don't think so.
Will Smith played the caddy for Matt Damon.
Okay.
And Will Smith was like this mysterious figure. And Matt Damon beats Walter Hagen and Bobby Jones in this mythical story.
Okay.
And the guy that played Walter Hagen, and this guy's been in like 50 million different shows, but he was in the movie Animal House. So every time I looked at him, I'm like, oh, it's a dude from Animal House. That's not Walter Hagen. That's a dude from Animal House.
That's how I look at what's his name that played Niedermeyer.
Oh yeah, no matter what he's in,
he's always Niedermeyer.
He's always going to be Niedermeyer. Absolutely. So Walter Hagen this day won the U.S. Open. Also important on this day in 1919, the same day Walter Hagen won the U.S. Open, Sir Barton captured the Belmont Stakes to become thoroughbred racing's first Triple Crown winner. Sir Barton, 1919. What a day Sports Center had that. Wow. Crazy.
Yes, 1919 Sports Center.
It was phenomenal. On this day in 1977, Seattle Slew won the Triple Crown as well. 1982, Larry Holmes stops Jerry Cooney in the 13th round of a WBC heavyweight fight in Vegas. Jerry Cooney was this guy that everybody thought was going to be a great fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Big dude. I believe his left hand was his big knockout punch. It's been a long time. He had fought like some over-the-hill guys like Jimmy Young and Ken Norton and Ron Lyle to get this fight with Holmes, and he lost. And then he had a fight with Michael Spinks. He got knocked out early. He was I forgot who got him in like the second round. And like he may never beat anybody, but he made a pretty good amount of money.
Yeah,
beating no one in their prime. So there was a lot of making fun of Jerry Cooney in the money that he made in his lifetime. So that was in 1982. 1984, on this day, the Boston Celtics beat the Lakers in Game 7 to win their 15th NBA title. Only time Larry Bird beat Magic Johnson in the finals. The next two times, the Lakers beat the Celtics, if my memory serves me. 1990, Nolan Ryan throws his sixth no-hitter. Ryan becomes the first to pitch no-hitters for three teams, the oldest to throw a no-hitter. Nolan Ryan, you know how old he was?
40-something.
67 years old. 43. 43 years old.
Was he 44 when he threw his final one?
Might have been,
like the next year or something like that? I
think so. But, of course, we don't think of all the no-hitters. We think about the time he hit Robin Ventura with a pitch, and Robin Ventura went out there, and Nolan Ryan noogied him on the head.
Yeah. Well, and just the fact that he's pitching into his mid-40s, that doesn't happen now. Like, athletes have peaked by, 36, 37 now?
I mean, you think about...
These pitchers?
Yeah, I mean, you think about Nolan Ryan throwing his 40s, and, I mean, he was... Even when he retired, he was still bringing it. It wasn't like all of a sudden his fastball was topping out at 82.
Sure.
He was still bringing it. That curveball was still breaking like it was falling off a table. He is a freak. Nolan Ryan was such a freak. This day in 1994, for the first time in 11 years, the United States loses in the Women's World Championships in basketball. They got beat by Brazil. The women have won, how many straight Olympic gold medals now in hoop?
I've lost count. It's been a lot.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. This day in 2006, Rafael Nadal wins his second consecutive French Open, beating Roger Federer. Did you see even the highlights of the French Open over the weekend?
The 5.5 hour
Alcaraz
match.
and Sinner. Sinner had this thing won 15 different times and couldn't close the deal. Alcaraz, a phenomenal comeback. Was it David Lloyd on SportsCenter said, I started watching, eating breakfast, I ate lunch, I had a late snack, and I was getting ready to get to dinner. By the time it was over, it was like 5.5 hours. It was ridiculous.
Insane.
Just insane. 2011, Texas A&M sweeps the men's and women's titles in the NCAA Outdoor Championship. Something Texas A&M won a title in.
Yeah, not one of the major sports,
track.
But we'll give them credit for it, I guess.
Well, this day in 2012, 6 years later, Rafael Nadal wins his 7th French Open title. Dude was unbelievable on clay. The LA Kings in 2012 won their first NHL championship, beating the Devils. I think the Kings were like, and the NHL, the seeding is weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we're used to, like in the NFL, if you're the 7th or 8th seed, or in the NBA. But the Kings were like the lowest seed ever to win the Stanley Cup that year in 2012. Hey, look, in 2017, Rafael Nadal wins his 10th French Open.
It's been a great day for Rafael Nadal.
Great day for Rafi. Great day. In 2023, Novak Djokovic won the French Open over Casper Ruud of Norway. There you go. Your greatest day in the history of the world.
There you go.
Great day for Rafael Nadal.
Yeah. Is June 11th his favorite day?
Phenomenal. All right. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare. I think they played on the morning show today. When we were talking about this earlier, I think it was this day or right around this day last year where South Carolina hired their baseball coach and their softball coach.
Yep, exactly 1 year ago today.
And the Ashley Chastain Woodard hiring for softball, we were like, oh, that's cute. She's an alum.
It was a feel-good story.
Yeah,
and
that's
she got emotional at the presser, and like it's
coming
neat
back
that
to her alma
alum's coming
mater.
back, and again, hey, we're cheering for you. We hope you do a good job. And 1 out away from going to the Women's College World Series for the first time in 30 years. Nobody saw that coming.
Right, and the hire everybody thought was a slam dunk to at least be as good as the year before, hiring Paul Maneri, that was a disaster.
Yeah.
So remember we went back to this whole thing about you never really know. You think you know, but you don't know.
Yeah, I did text, or one of my buddies that also covers SEC baseball, when he heard about the Maneri hire, he's like, I don't know, lots changed in the past couple of years, and I was like, I think it's going to be all right. Circle back around 2 years later, he was definitely right.
Well, you go, okay, you got some guy, you got a couple guys on the staff who are younger who have been through this transfer portal stuff and NIL stuff, and it'll be easy. Oops.
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, okay. According to him, the talent wasn't there.
Right.
All right. You've cleaned house. You're getting talent left and right in the transfer portal. Go win with it.
Speaking of last year, last year's shortstop who transferred from Ohio State to South Carolina hit the portal, and where'd he go, Tyler?
Back to Ohio State. So if Michie Johnson's any indication, he'll be back here in 2027.
Our boy Henry has left South Carolina, going back to Ohio State. All right, 803-404-6100. Our buddy Orlando Bruce. Bruce, you're on the halftime show. Good hearing from you, my man. How you doing?
Good, guys. How are y'all?
Doing great, man. What's happening?
Good. You were talking about Jerry Cooney. Wasn't he the boxer that was known as the Great White Hype?
Yes. Remember, all that money and never won anything.
Yeah. Nope. And you were right. I think he was the lefty. I think he had his left hook, I think, was his knockout punch.
Bruce, I saw an interview.
Talk about a bunch of hot air.
Yes. I saw an interview with him, like, after he stole all that money from losing all those like 3 championship fights. And they're basically saying, do you feel guilty that you basically stole all that money? Because he did nothing and made a ton of cash.
And that question is, how do you sleep at night? Well, apparently he slept pretty good.
On a really nice bed, Bruce.
Exactly. Better than what we got.
Oh, absolutely. Good hearing from you, my friend. That's our buddy Orlando Bruce. Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, he was a guy that, he went 13 rounds with Holmes, but never ever was what everybody thought he was going to be. And it was like Bruce said, who's called the Great White Hype. That would think it was Sports Illustrated. There was a cover calling him the Great White Hype.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, because in boxing, through that era, they had the thing called the Great White Hope.
Yeah.
A guy who was going to be the white heavyweight champion or whatever it was. There was a guy named Dwayne Bobbitt. They tried to push him as that, and he always got knocked out in the first round. Always got beat. No, he never did anything.
Tough to be a champion when you're doing that.
Yeah, when you're laying on the canvas face down.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
With blood and drool running out of your face.
Yes.
But Jerry Cooney was one of those guys in that list, and he was the Great White Hype.
Wow.
Appreciate it, Orlando Bruce. All right, it's a great day in the history of the world. We will do our handoff with our buddies from the postgame show, sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine. That's coming up next here on the halftime show. David Ayers here, Tyler Head, Terry Ford, also our Firehouse Sub text the hour at 803-404-6100 coming up on the game. All right, halftime show. Let's get our Firehouse sub text the hour at 803-404-6100. What do you got, man?
AJ says, I like Coach Sark, but there's a lot of coaches who could get it done with that NIL budget and the easiest SEC schedule.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about this. The schedule gods of the SEC did them favors. What they didn't do was Oklahoma any favors.
No, they did not.
No.
Again, Oklahoma, a little bit more of a standard when it comes to winning over the years, but not currently right now. So it didn't work out too well for them.
Well, we all sat here and you and myself and Jay, we were even on our little handoff here would yip about, wow, Oklahoma's been the better program for 25, 30 years. But right now, coming to the SEC.
If you only started watching college football 4 years ago, you wouldn't know that.
Right. But Oklahoma was the big dog out of the two. But Texas got the easy schedule. Oklahoma got screwed like nobody's business. And so, yeah. And look, Texas, I'm surprised when I know Texas is good at more stuff than just football. But didn't you expect this in the rev share? Texas is giving 99% of their rev share to football. 1% to men's basketball.
If they could, they would.
They would. I know. Hey, look who it is.
Jay, I'd like you to meet Terry Ford.
Who's this guy?
Hi.
How you doing, man?
Hattie.
Hattie. You like the new microphone setup that our buddy Randy put together?
Yeah, I do. But yesterday, someone, I'm going to blame Bill Gunner.
Go ahead.
Had like the bar there that like goes across where your keyboard is, and I couldn't access my keyboard. And it wasn't Tyler who was there before me because the day before it had been positioned accordingly. And it had been, someone had reversed, so I blame Gunner.
Well, let's see what Gunner.
I don't know if Gunner did it or not, but I don't really
Gunner.
I don't care.
Because Wes
Yeah,
is usually here. Wes did. Oh, it absolutely had to be Gunner.
Yeah, it was Gunner.
It was Gunner. I blame Gunner too.
Yeah, I mean and again, even if it wasn't, oh well.
Well, we're going to blame Gunner.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Guilty by association.
Gunner is guilty because he's associated to Gunner.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
So how's your life been the last week and a half?
Well, I got a haircut today, so that's good.
You look pretty sexy.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, and you know, it's sad. They tell you when you've last had your haircut.
When was your last haircut?
It was the week of my anniversary.
Are you serious?
My anniversary's in March.
I was getting ready to say, wasn't your anniversary like back in the spring?
So, yeah. The last week or so, I've been like, I really need a haircut. Sometimes I don't care. I mean, I'm in radio. Nobody cares. Even if we're doing video, nobody cares.
No, nobody's going, I'm not listening to Jay Phillips anymore. Why? You see that haircut?
Yeah. And believe me, there's people, like Elijah has long hair. Nobody cares.
Nobody.
But anyway, everything's good. Everything's good. I have children traveling. I was just telling Elijah a story. One of my children is going to get shots for jungle diseases because she's going down to Central America.
Okay.
So that's the law, apparently.
So you know what? When you start getting shots for jungle diseases, do you cancel your trip?
Well, I just think it's a precautionary thing.
Sure it is.
So there's that.
They're not doing it because it's never happened to anybody before. They're just doing it to make sure it never happens.
It was funny.
Right?
It was when my wife said, yes, she has to get a shot for yellow fever. I'm like, what is this, the 1600s?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, down there it is.
But, I mean.
She had to get a shot for the bubonic plague.
There's that. And then there's one going to Wyoming. And I said, don't get gored by a bison. And she said, not planning to. I said, nobody plans to.
Nobody ever goes, you know what I'm going to do when I go to Wyoming?
How much is all this costing you?
I don't know.
We just talked about him and the tuition he was paying for his kid.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
That's done.
Parents know, man, this is life is tuition. And you can't deny them these opportunities.
You can't?
No.
You can't?
You just gotta hope they're really smart and can get scholarships.
I'll say this much, Tyler, though. The one going to Central America is still under my purview. The one going to Wyoming, she's good, man. I mean, I might get her to get me a T-shirt from Jackson or something like that. Like I went to the whatever famous general store it is and got this T-shirt.
Yeah, my kid going to Ocean City for senior week, obviously, and so part of his graduation gift was here's the money to stay at Ocean City, and then I said, and of course the joke always makes mom nervous. I go, and I'll give you some beer money later when your mom's not looking. I know the guy that will get you the booze, but
whoa, nobody does that, Terry. Don't you? You're just making nobody.
Because I'm sure they card everyone.
High school graduation trips I have never met anybody that had a high school graduation trip where any type of adult beverage
never
was
adult because they weren't old. Well, they weren't old.
They're not old.
That's
right.
You know what?
Rules, man.
That's just a story everybody makes up.
Yeah, it's just that's to be all tough and cool.
Right. But yeah,
we went down there and I passed out on the beach.
I was so drunk. That never happened.
It is kind of funny when one of your buddies passes out on the beach and then like the half that is facing up is like lobster red.
Yes. Because no one helps him.
And then you see him like at night. You're like, oh, you passed out this afternoon, didn't you?
Because you know
he's got a handprint on his chest.
Yes,
right, or just something. Yeah.
Because what you do is you sit there and laugh, and
Yes.
and someone will say, "Let's move him." No. Let him lay there.
Like a whale.
It's good. Roll him out to
back
sea.
in there. Yeah.
So what's on the big shindig today, man?
Well, I guess y'all been talking some football scheduling. So we're going to open with that. So we'll do that. Let's see. Bill McDonald is going to come by in the 4, talk a little U.S. Open.
Nice.
I saw the stat yesterday. Did you guys see this? Oakmont in the Masters era. Oakmont has the highest per round average of any major.
Isn't Karnowski second? I think I saw.
I don't. I just saw they just showed me Oakmont. It's. I mean, every
79.
70. Well, 76 is the
76?
average major.
Well, isn't
round.
70 par at Oakmont
I
this
think
year?
70. It might be. Well,
70
they
this
have
year par.
two of their par 5s are 600 plus.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
So they might be 72, but you're shooting 76. But there's a lot of people who believe that's going to be an over par champion. And then our own Cale Wilson is down at the 7-on-7 camp.
Nice.
So he'll be calling in, doing some of that. And I'll remind everybody, tomorrow, by the way, it's Dueling Athletics Directors Day on the postgame
really?
show because we have just confirmed and booked Chance Miller, the former associate AD. Chance will be out in Omaha.
With Coastal.
He's just going to talk a little Coastal. And then we have South Carolina Athletics Director Jeremiah Donati. So that's tomorrow.
For a half hour, won't he?
Ish.
Our guy?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say this out loud.
Are these microphones tall enough for him?
Yeah, I know. You know what? Well, he'll be on the phone, but if we were bringing him in, yeah, we could get Randy to probably move this guy up a little bit. But yeah, Jeremiah is he's tall.
All right, so that's coming up.
Tall. So we'll do that, and I got to put it on one of these TVs on the Braves game. The Braves might actually win today.
Yeah.
They're winning.
They went back to their old ways last night.
I will say this: as much as I'm suffering as an Orioles fan, you guys are suffering as well. It's whew.
Well,
wow.
It's pretty much not happening.
All right, post-game show's next. Dave, Tyler, nice work.